Chapter 2. Russell Greer, the man, the myth, the legend. "Who's Russell Greer?" the heavy-set jail warden for the Uinta County jail system asked aloud, studying a clipboard that contained all of my documentation. "That man over there," an assistant jailer stated, pointing at me. The warden came over and studied me, 18 years old, dressed in orange jail clothes, restrained in handcuffs that connected to a belly chain and a newly charged inmate. "You're a little young to be facing a felony," the warden sternly said as he studied me. What a sight I must have been to that warden. A prisoner with a facial paralysis. I could barely speak because I was so afraid. I nodded my head. He gave me a long hard examination and then turned away. The warden and the assistant continued talking about my alleged crime, and I say alleged because it was anything but a crime. My crime was a high school senior prank that went terribly wrong. My brain had gone on stupid mode when I did the prank that would lead to my eventual arrest. I shuddered as flashbacks of me committing the prank ran through my mind. Like a track stuck on repeat, the warden's question continued to echo inside my head and caused me to reflect on my life. Who is Russell Greer? Just weeks before, I had been on the Student Council and the National Honour Society. I was a senior at Evanston, Wyoming High School. Though I was a nice guy, my school years had been plagued with misunderstandings and other struggles experienced by a young man with a facial disability termed Mealyhouse syndrome. For the sake of addressing and clearing the elephant from the room, my disability, which is a disability as defined with the Americans with Disabilities Act, as it hinders 2 or more life functions, isn't the result of having large teeth or having something wrong with my lips or jaw. Contrary to the common assumption, my disability also isn't the result of a car crash or some other accident, though. That would make explaining my disability a lot more interesting. I like to think of how cool it would be to be a war veteran and explain, the reason I look funny is because I was carrying 20 guys on my shoulder over in Iraq, and then a fly landed on my nose, which caused me to sneeze. Naturally, with 20 wounded guys slumped over me, I lost my balance and fell face first on a landmine. Who needs a purple heart? I've got a deformity to show it. Sadly, I'm no war hero. I was born this way. Boring, huh? I mean, if I'm going to be walking around like this, I need a cool story to explain to the sightseers. Luckily, I can be happy that my disability isn't progressive, which thankfully means that in 20 years my face won't be shaped like a toolbox. I can only imagine all of the doorways my face would get stuck in if it suddenly progressed and grew to the size of a 6x8 toolbox. That would not be fun. In all seriousness, my face is this way because I'm missing the 7th cranial nerve muscles in my face. Bad luck of the draw, I guess. I've learned to love my life despite living with something so challenging. Because of my disability, eating and speaking can be difficult. When I talk, my T's sound like C's, my V's sound like Z's, B's become G's. It's almost as if I'm speaking an alien form of English. Pronouncing places and names can be especially difficult. I can't even pronounce my last name clearly. Since I've become so comfortable in my own skin, I like to think that I speak perfect English and that when I speak I have a Dean Martin voice going on and I sound like Taylor Swift is the coolest, in a studly way. I forget though that when a stranger hears me, they can hear Taylor Swift is the coolest. It can be frustrating. A lot of times I have to repeat myself when I speak and make sure I speak slowly with enunciation. Don't get me started on how I eat. People say it's rude to slurp your food. Well then I must be the rudest person they've ever met because I naturally slurp my food. I have to tilt my head backwards when I drink or else my drink comes out of my mouth and stains my shirt. It's always hard to explain when I'm walking around with a giant yellow splash on a white shirt. Also, due to my disability, I drool randomly. It's embarrassing because when I drool I'm not even looking at a freshly baked pizza or something that would cause an average person to salivate. It just happens at the most awkward times, like when I'm asking a girl out or when I'm talking to my boss. Whenever I begin to drool, I joke that I'm working on my Homer Simpson impression. Donuts.